Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks for joining me on the Pixie Dust Designs YouTube channel. I have been away from crafting for a few weeks, and it is so good to be back. And today I'm going to be creating a card using this die set called Pumpkin House. And I am going to use mainly the pumpkin and the leaf portions and the door and the windows. I will not be using this time, but stay tuned because I will definitely be using that before the fall and Halloween season is upon us. So I've gone ahead and I've cut out 4 pieces of paper using that pumpkin die. And so I've cut out a solid white piece and then 3 pieces of pattern paper, and I'm going to go ahead and take the this piece of pattern paper and adhere that to the solid white piece, and that's going to be basically the pattern on the middle of the pumpkin. And so basically what I want to do is create 3 different areas for the pumpkin. And so I'm going to go ahead and take the other pieces of pattern paper and count over 4 lines and make the cut just following the line. So the die has these score lines on it, or not score lines necessarily, but these detail lines, and they make it really easy to go ahead and cut these papers out. That's not the intention of them, but I wanted to make this pumpkin with some different patterns on it. And so after I cut those pieces out, I'm just going to take some liquid adhesive and glue those 2 ends on. So there are basically 3 sections to the pumpkin. And the design team has some really awesome ideas using this set, so I encourage you to check back and subscribe to the YouTube channel, as well as check the blog, which is linked below, and it'll give you lots of ideas and inspiration using all of Pixie Dust Designs products. So while I'm doing this, I will go ahead and I've already cut out all of my other pieces that I'm going to need. And once again, I'm not using the door or the windows on this project, but I will definitely be using this again with those. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the stem of the pumpkin ready. And I've used another piece of pattern paper that I didn't think would necessarily go real well with the teal, but amazingly it does. There's just enough kind of blues in with that kind of those darker fall colors that just really, I think it just looks really good together. So I have cut the stem out 3 times. I'm going to adhere 2 of the pieces together, and then those 2 pieces are going to be actually adhered behind the pumpkin. So I added a little bit of glue to the bottom of the stem, and I'm just going to set that pumpkin piece on top. And then for the 3rd piece of the stem, I am adding some foam circles. So I'll go ahead and add some foam circles. And because a lot of my adhesives are of an indeterminate age, I always like to add a little bit of liquid adhesive as well, just to make sure that it does stick very well. So I went ahead and removed the release paper from the back of the foam and then added a little bit of liquid adhesive, and that piece is going to go on top of the pumpkin. So it's going to create a little bit of a 3D effect for the stem. And then next I'm going to prepare my card base, and I didn't want to waste all of this piece of pattern paper, so I used a die to cut out the center, and then I'm going to use kind of this orangish yellow piece of paper. Originally I was going to use this side as my background, and so I'm going to add a little bit of glue just to the edge of this solid piece of pattern paper. And again, I was going to use the card like this, and this was going to be my background, but when I flipped it over and then put the pumpkin up against it, I just really loved the way it looked with that pattern paper in the back and kind of that frame. So that ended up working out real nicely. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere the kind of the pumpkin patch to the bottom of this piece. And I wanted to pop up the pumpkin a little bit, and so I went ahead and grabbed a little bit of fairly thin foam. This is adhesive foam. It's only adhesive on one side though. And so I went ahead and used the die to cut that piece out. Then I'm going to add both my tape runner and a little bit of liquid adhesive to add to the pumpkin. And then I went ahead and I took my scissors to trim around that a little bit so you can see all of the yellow foam in the background. And then the fun part is adding all the little accessories. So I'm going to go ahead and not adhere this to the card yet. But I've grabbed a couple of buttons from my stash, and I'm taking a piece of twine and just going through each of the buttons one time. I don't know why I put this on one piece of string. I could have separated them, but I went ahead and added both of the buttons onto this thin piece of twine. And then to adhere the buttons to my pumpkin, I am adding some glue dots, and then I will add a drop of liquid adhesive as well. And then once I've got that liquid adhesive on, I'm just going to go ahead and flip the string over and push those buttons down onto the pumpkin. And then I'll trim off the excess twine and make a little bow with one of the pieces. And then I'm going to fill in a little bit of the space with some of the leaves from the die set. But first, I'm going to go ahead and remove that backing on that foam and then add a little bit of liquid adhesive as well. And we'll go ahead and adhere this piece to the card. And then we'll add all the accessories as well as the sentiment. I did end up adding a few things to this card after I had stopped recording. Basically, I just moved a leaf that I had glued down and then added another sentiment to the bottom just because it felt a little empty on the right-hand side. And so I went ahead and changed that up a little bit, which you can see in the still shots. So basically just added the bow and a kind of a little embellishment and some of those leaves, and that's going to finish off this card. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pixi Designs YouTube channel and check out their blog. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time.